This morning, just as one of our news stories highlighted, we are talking about what's happening in regards to infrastructural development here on the island of Tobago. And one of those big infrastructural development projects that we have been hearing a lot of buzzing about recently is that Storebay Beach Facility proposed redevelopment project. This morning, to get some clarity on that and to really understand what that project is about, we have Councillor Tashia Burris that is joining us online, who is also the Secretary for the Division of Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation. Good morning, Secretary, and welcome.
Good morning, and thank you so much for having me on this morning.
Thank you for giving us your time. Now, when it comes to infrastructural development, I believe even in our last conversation, you would have indicated that there has to be an alignment with the type of infrastructure that we have on the island in regards to the type of tourists that we are trying to attract. And with that being said, recently we saw a bit of a buzz happening on the social media with a new proposed project that had not been discussed, but we saw, some clips of a proposed new design for that Storebay Beach facility. Tell us a bit about this project.
Okay, good morning, and thank you again for having me on Tobago Updates this morning. I have noticed in the last couple of days a lot of information and misinformation circulating in the public domain regarding planned upgrades to the Storebay Beach facility. So I felt it was necessary to bring some clarity and clear the air, and certainly encourage people to get their information from verified sources. Anybody can go on social media and talk about their opinions or how they feel or what they've heard. It is important to ensure that correct information goes out so that people understand the process. So when I assumed office in 2021, one of the things that I did immediately in 2022 was to visit our sites and attractions that fall under the management of the Division of Tourism. And one of those facilities is obviously our Storebay Beach facility, which is a flagship facility of ours. It is the first beach facility that you meet as soon as you exit the airport, and the last beach facility that you leave before you leave the island. So, in walking about during that time and speaking to vendors, looking at the touting situation, speaking to the security guards, the lifeguards, the users of the facility, the consensus that I got from the horse's mouth, which is the people who use the facility on a daily basis, is that Storebay has been neglected for a number of years and it is long overdue for an upgrade. So those were the cries that came from my one-on-one conversations with persons who are users and tenants of the facility. Fast forward to later in 2022 into 2023, we had our district town hall meetings. And at the district town hall meeting for Canaan Bonaccord, which was attended by members of the Executive Council, led by the Chief Secretary, as well as the area representative, Joel Sampson, a commitment was made that we will prioritize the upgrade of the Storebay Beach facility in fiscal year 23-24, which is the current fiscal year that we are in. And that commitment was made publicly because, again, at that district town hall meeting, persons expressed concerns about the state of Storebay and the lawlessness that was taking place there, and the fact that it was no longer an attraction that visitors can enjoy safely with their families. So we gave that commitment. So we started a process, and that process was to get from persons what would you like to see in this new upgraded facility. We didn't simply want to slap paint on walls. We didn't simply want to do cosmetic upgrades, but rather we wanted to create a facility that would, one, serve the interests of the tenants, the users of the current facility, and help them to upgrade their businesses, help them to scale their businesses, help them to get access to a larger, more diverse clientele. And secondly, because Tobago is positioning itself as a cruise destination to look out for, and we attract, and last season was indication of the potential of Tobago to really make an impact on the cruise, in the cruise sector in the Caribbean. It was felt also in terms of feedback from cruise lines as well, their cruisers, when they come on land, the different things that they want to do. So they want to go to facilities where they can sit and enjoy the beach. They want to enjoy other amenities. They want to get access to shopping. They want to get access to dining. And this was an opportunity for us to position the Storebay Beach facility as one such facility, which would attract our domestic visitors year round. And during our international season, which is really between October and April, serve as an attraction for our cruise visitors as well as our international visitors who are looking for a more higher end experience. And so we commissioned EIDCOT, which is our project management company under the Tobago House of Assembly, to conduct some surveys. And these surveys were conducted in August of 2023 during the Great Race period, where we will have a natural influx of visitors. And those surveys were conducted with users and tenants of the facility as well as members of the public. So there was an initial survey that was done. The personnel of EIDCOT was on site on Great Race Day, and they helped persons to fill out these surveys to get feedback initially to determine what users and what tenants and what members of the public would like to see happen at Storebay. And coming out of those initial surveys, an initial design was prepared. Now, mind you, in the project management process, there are several iterations that we have to go to when we're managing a process. So the first is to get an idea of what the issues are, what is the problems that we're trying to fix, and get an idea of what a conceptual solution to those problems could be. So that initial design was prepared and first unveiled and presented internally to stakeholders in April of this year. So there were different groupings of stakeholders who we revealed the design to get feedback from those persons. And one such stakeholder grouping obviously was our tenants, and these are people who pay a rent at the facility. I noticed that Tobago Updates interviewed someone who doesn't, two persons who don't pay rent at the facility. Those were not the people who were taken up in these initial set of consultations, even though one of those persons was invited. That initial consultation involved lifeguards, tour guide, the dive shop operators, food and craft vendors, other commercial users and tenants, as well as the presidents of the reef boat associations. That was a small initial grouping of our stakeholders because wider consultation has to take place. At that first consultation, 64 persons were present representing all of those interests. I was present, the area rep was present, and this is where the initial designs were presented to that group of persons to get their feedback. So mind you, we have been getting feedback from all of the different stakeholder groupings who have been spoken to about this project. And as we get that feedback, the designs are being refined. So we had that first conversation. It was unveiled. I went to great lengths to explain to persons, this is not the end of the process. This is what you guys asked for. I will use an analogy. If you ask 100 persons what they would like to see in a playground, you may get 100 different suggestions as to different amenities that that playground should have. And if somebody is creating a conceptual design for that playground, they will try to include as many of those amenities that the users said that they require to have a playground that can appeal to them and make sure that they keep coming back. So that initial design really was as a result of those conversations. I did not have the opportunity to give an input because I am not a direct user. All of these
Right.
designs came out of those conversations
Understood.
that we had. Yes?
Right. And you would have indicated that the Storebay Beach facility, was promised to be a priority for 2023,
Mm.
2024, and we're nearing the end of the financial year. So what has been done so far for the year at the facility?
So we actually are still in that process of determining what the users want. We can't commence any major upgrade works without completing this process. We have to go through all of the processes that are necessary to ensure that people are comfortable with the final product. So we have not been able to get to the place we ideally wanted to be by the end of this year because this process has to happen and we have to give it sufficient time. We have to measure twice and cut once. So that is why I have kept emphasizing to the persons that we have been talking to that this process is not complete. So nobody has been evicted. There's no procurement process that is going on for a contractor to come in. There's no developer that was chosen. We are still trying to decide decide what this final design is going to look like.
And so
So
what
right
is
now,
happening with that allocation that was put for this year for the facility? Has it been put in other places, or we're going to ensure that we use it before the year is finished?
so allocations can always be moved depending on the priorities. If a project is not at a stage where it can be executed in the time that we were looked at, obviously there are many other priorities within the division that that money could be utilized for. But for us, we are very much adamant that this Storebay upgrade should go ahead. And as I said, it is a priority for this administration. We have made a promise to the people of Storebay and environs that we will deliver under this administration an upgraded facility that they can be proud of. And for us, we just want people to help us go through the process. So as long as we are doing the consultations with the internal stakeholders, we will also have wider external consultations where members of the public can now be part of the conversation. They can get to see what the iterations of the designs look like because we have, as I said, an initial design concept. And coming out of the conversations that we have already had, we will have some updated designs to present as well. So when those consultations are taking place in the public space, I would like to encourage everybody who has an interest in this project, every Tobagonian, every Trinidadian, every visitor, everybody who feels as if they need to have a say, you are encouraged to participate in this process, to let your voices be heard, to make your recommendations, to make your suggestions, because at the end of the day, the facility, it belongs to all of us. The facility is one that all of Tobago should be proud of. And we are using this as a test case really for tourism development and for people to see how other mature tourism destinations encourage projects like these in this space. And in the absence of us getting major foreign direct investments and the challenges we are having with that, we have to start with upgrading what we have home here to world standard. And I want to encourage people not to think small. Nothing is wrong with having a facility that looks like if it's straight out of a magazine on a beach in Turks and Caicos or one of these places that have 5 and 6 star accommodations. Tobago is a beautiful destination, and we deserve to have facilities that are a representation of the kind of experiences that visitors can have in Tobago. I understand the fears of those who are current tenants of the facility, because when you talk development and you talk about upgrades and you talk about the kind of upgrades that we dream of having, I know people will have a natural concern about rents raising and whether or not they will still fit into the plan for this facility. I can give the assurance this morning that none of the tenants that we have currently will be displaced from this new facility. We will definitely continue the conversations about things like the rent and how we are managing these things once the facility design has been approved and completed and is going ahead. But definitely, we feel as if, regardless of how much we upgrade a facility, there is room for that Tobago charm, room for the things that Tobago is known for. We just want to make sure that all of those things that we want to sell, which is the best of Tobago, is done in an aesthetically pleasing environment.
Understood. And we're going to take a break right here, and we'll be back with much more of this conversation. See you soon. Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. If you're just joining us, I have been talking about that Storebay Redevelopment project with Councillor Tashia Burris, who's the Secretary for Tourism, Culture, Antiquities and Transportation. Good morning and welcome back, Secretary. So with all the buzz happening about this new Storebay Beach facility redevelopment project, persons are asking what is in store for persons of Tobago East. Can you tell us about some of the proposed projects that might be coming on that area, on that side of the island?
So currently we have on the books the development of the Bloody Bay Blue Food site. So that is a project that started last year, and it's also being managed under EACOT. And it was felt this year is the 27th edition of the hosting of the Blue Food Festival. And every time we host the Blue Food, we have to go in with infrastructure. We have to bring everything into the space, basically. And it was felt as if it was time for us to graduate it from just an event to creating experiences, value added around that that festival. So it has become a staple on the Tobago calendar. Now we are proposing to actually build out a permanent facility that will not only just host that event, but create economic opportunities for persons in that Bloody Bay area to ply their trade year round, so that we can now encourage people to come and get access to blue food and blue food related products year round. They don't just have to be in Tobago for October for that. So that is a major project that is taking place on the northeast of the island. Definitely for us, there has been some conversation about other projects across the space, and we have been having some conversations with the Division of Settlements and Rural Development as to some proposed initiatives that we intend to look at undertaking this coming fiscal year. We have the development of the Highlands Nature Trail that was mentioned in our budget presentation in June. We also are looking at the possibility of a development for the Louisdor beach facility, which would include a pier and facilities for fishing boats and that kind of thing. So we're looking at different types of infrastructure projects across the space in Tobago. We don't intend to just put our attention on the southwest of the island, but we recognize that there are different tourism products that need to be encouraged throughout the Tobago space. And for us, again, that involves consultation with residents. It involves consultations with persons, users of those particular areas. We have to do our studies in terms of in looking at environmental impact and economic impact, and seeing where our investments will have the greatest impact in the space. It is no secret that the Tobago House of Assembly does not get anything close to what is required for us to truly develop the entire island. $250 million every fiscal year cannot do much. When you look at our road infrastructure projects, they take up the bulk of that allocation. When we look at the fact that out of that development project vote, we are also paying salaries for different development workers in different divisions. And when we ask the question, do we really want development? We have to get up and start demanding the kind of revenue or the kind of allocation that allows for us to do holistic development on the island. We do not want to have projects languishing for 11 years. In the case of the hospital that took so long to be open, we don't want to have another shore park cultural complex that took almost 15 years to be complete. We cannot in 2024 still tell ourselves that we're taking one little step forward every single year because the money is just not enough, and people are waiting eons to see projects be completed. We're going to try our best to manage our allocations as best as we can, and definitely there's always a conversation about what are the priorities, because every single division has priorities under infrastructure development. And with respect to tourism, if we are going to make tourism our mainstay industry on the island, we have to sink some significant investment into upgrading our physical infrastructure. So when we come to the public with these ideas, when we come to the public with these proposed plans, when we come to the public to ask your opinion on what should we do to improve this Tobago space, we simply want a situation where people participate fully, they participate truthfully, and that they, let us know what is on their minds and hearts. We definitely don't want a situation where lies and misinformation are being peddled about development, because everything that we are trying to do, we are doing for the benefit of the people of Tobago.
Right.
So
And
we are depending on you guys to be part of the process.
right. And you touched a bit on, that island-wide approach to tourism infrastructural development. With that being said, there has been some chatter about the Isle of Tobago sign moving into the Scarborough Esplanade. Tell us about that and how that fits into the wider tourism agenda for your administration.
So unfortunately, I will not be able to answer about the Isle of Tobago, because that piece of property or infrastructure falls under the Division of Settlements. That was the division that put out for that sign to be created and placed in that area. I have not had a conversation with the secretary regarding moving of the sign. So if there are any plans to move it, I'm sure that we will have that conversation, and definitely there will be an opportunity for us to see how that can benefit, or look at the pros and cons of such a move. But I will not be able to speak directly about the sign because unfortunately it does not fall under my remit.
All right. And what are some of the other projects that we can look forward to from your division that's on the way?
So, in terms of public infrastructure, we are moving full speed ahead to finally reopen the Bloody Bay Beach facility. It has been closed for a number of months due to different challenges, but we are supposed to be able to have that facility reopened just in time for the Blue Food Festival. We are coming off of a very, very excellent cultural season with the hosting of the Heritage Festival and the Best Village Finals for the first time in Tobago. And I must take this opportunity to once again thank the heritage stakeholders, the community groups, all of the persons who visited, the suppliers, everyone who contributed to making the Heritage Festival this year a resounding success. And definitely Tobago showed up and showed out at the Best Village, the Prime Minister's Best Village Trophy Finals in Tobago. Our cultural groups again, our community groups again, put their blood on the stage basically and demonstrated to the whole of Trinidad and Tobago that Tobago is the cultural capital of Trinidad and Tobago. And we are going into Carnival season, and we're going into the season where everybody tends to get excited. We are in the third year of the Tobago October Carnival, and plans are heading full steam ahead to ensure that this year's staging is bigger than last year's and more successful than last year's. Definitely for us, the focus has really been on ensuring that within this next fiscal year, we can be able to deliver on major initiatives. There's a major initiative that we have coming up. I'm not at liberty to discuss it yet, but it's something that I think will have huge impact in the space, especially when it comes to the infrastructure development of our tourism product and getting to the persons who have been working in the sector for a number of years and being able to give them some relief in terms of assisting them with their businesses. So I'm excited to look at
Right,
that project and being launched. So certainly when I'm able to speak about it a little bit more, I'll be
right,
excited to share details. But this year is really preparing us for the opportunities that are coming in the sector. The new airport terminal is going to be operationalized by mid of next year. We are looking at the different hotel developments in the space. Manta Lodge will be opening in September. We have the Marriott project that is in the phase of doing their consultations right now for their CEC. We have the Elephant Tree project that is already underway, broken ground, and they are on course to finish their hotel development by mid of 2026. So there are a lot of exciting things that are coming in the space for the island and the people of Tobago, and we are looking at how we can capitalize on the opportunities that will be presented by these new projects coming on stream.
right. And as you have touched a bit on Carnival, we have not yet seen a schedule for Carnival released. Where are we at with that? Can you tell us?
We actually released the schedule a couple days ago. So if you
Oh,
check the Welcome to .com website, you'll get all of the information. But we have been marketing aggressively in Trinidad. We just wrapped up our tour of Trinidad to market and hype up the carnival. And we've done activations in New York. We have an activation coming up in Toronto. We've done some marketing in Grenada. And we are having discussions with NCC and other stakeholders to see how they can assist us with continuing to market the carnival in spaces that we may not necessarily have a presence, and seeing how we can take advantage of some of the partnerships that we have formed over the years. But definitely for us, the Tobago October Carnival has become a staple on our events calendar, and it's one of those activities that has, really taken off, and people are looking forward to a safe hosting of the Tobago October Carnival this year. And we are just doing our part to ensure that we can welcome our visitors, ensure that they have a great time, and that when they're ready to leave our shores, that they could only have good things to say about Tobago.
right. And as we speak, you are currently in Cayman Islands, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken, right? And how does your trip there and everything that's happening there right now feed into the improvement of even the Carnival product that we are trying to offer here in Tobago?
So my purpose in the Cape Islands at this time is to attend the State of the Tourism Industry Conference. And this is a conference that happens yearly. All regional ministers of tourism and their territories are invited. And we have ministerial caucus, we have the Caribbean Tourism Organization, we host our Council of Ministers meeting as well as our AGM. So we elected a new chairman of the Caribbean Tourism Organization yesterday, and this has gone to Barbados. So Cayman Islands was the previous chair. Now Barbados has taken up the chairmanship of the Caribbean Tourism Organization. This presents an opportunity for me to have those intergovernment conversations about the tourism sector and about the partnerships that we can form with other regional ministers of tourism to get some much needed assistance in the Tobago space. And when I say assistance, we're looking at technical capacity building, we're talking about sharing flights, we're talking about hotel investment, we're talking about development in the space. We also share stories about best practices, things that have worked well for destinations similar to Tobago, things that have not worked so well. So it's an opportunity for us to get lessons learned from that. While SOTIC is taking place, we also have the Junior Youth Congress taking place. And this Junior Youth Congress is a competition that picks the junior regional minister of tourism. And if persons are not aware, Tobago won the title of Junior Minister of Tourism in 2022. And we have a delegate this year, our Junior Secretary of Tourism, Anthurium Lewis, and she's here with her teacher and her mom and some staff of the division. And she is being immersed in preparation for that competition, which takes place on Thursday. And definitely, we are throwing all of our support behind our delegate. She is young, bright, intelligent from Bishop's High School, and we're really proud of her representation thus far. She's gotten the opportunity to immerse herself in the culture of the Cayman Islands and to form friendships with the other delegates from the other destinations. And the competition, as I said, takes place on Thursday, and we wish her all the best of luck, and certainly we know that she will do her best to bring home the crown. So these conferences are very important. It gives us an opportunity to once again market the destination, and we have been doing so. We have been selling our Tobago October Carnival aggressively. In fact, some ministers have reached out to say that they want to come to Tobago October Carnival. We're also talking about partnerships that could be formed with other destinations for us to ensure that we have a space in their festivals to market the Tobago October Carnival, as well as other festivals that are taking place in Tobago. Wider conversations about interconnectivity and airlift from different destinations are taking place. And this is really just a place where we can form partnerships as well as look for the business for Tobago. And so far, the conversations are very, very positive. We have some further conversations to happen after SOTIC. But definitely for me, I see the support of the rest of the Caribbean when it comes to Tobago's efforts. They have commended Tobago showing up consistently since I have been sitting in the chair. They are seeing so much more of Tobago and learning so much about what we have available. And a number of islands, through their ministers, have pledged support to ramp up their tourism efforts. They have pledged support in technical capacity building and assistance with, negotiating flights and things like that. So I'm very, very confident that this trip will bear a lot of fruit for the destination. And I continue to look forward to opportunities to represent Tobago and to sell the best of what Tobago has to offer wherever we go.
Right, and in previous conversations that I have had with the president for the chamber, the Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce, Mr. Curtis Williams, he indicated that conversations with the Tobago Promoters Association, have led to them discussing the fact that the carnival is moving to a place where the private sector is going to, in the future be the ones taking charge and taking ownership of really pushing, developing and growing that carnival product for Tobago and taking some of the pressure off of the Division of Tourism. Tell us about that if you have been a part of any of those conversations, and what does, that look like in the long term, and how can individuals in Tobago, specifically in the business space, begin to partner to help grow the Tobago Carnival product?
So I can say that, what has been happening is that I'm not hearing that everybody thinks that the THA must do everything. And I think that we are slowly getting to a place where the stakeholder organizations understand that they have a very large role to play in the future success of these initiatives. When we're coming in with new products, obviously the government has to come in very early with a significant injection to help grow whatever the new product is. But ideally for us, we want to get to the place where we are scaling back our involvement and we are now introducing creating a business model that allows the private sector to fully own and to fully manage and to fully take over the sustainability, the future sustainability of things like a Tobago October Carnival. For me, I'm happy that the conversations are taking place in the space. I understand that we may not be there yet, and certainly year three might be a little bit too early for us to get to the place where it's 100% owned and managed and operated by the private sector. There will always be a role for government to facilitate the growth of the festival, but definitely there needs to be more conversation as to the opportunities that are coming out of the hosting of a carnival. Not just opportunities for promoters who are having parties or mass bands who are selling costumes, but there are opportunities for small entrepreneurs. There are opportunities for more persons to get into the accommodation sector. There are opportunities for more persons to get into value added businesses like car rentals and tour guides and tour operators, because people don't just want to come to Tobago to experience a carnival, they want to experience the destination. There's more opportunities for us to open more restaurants and bars. You can never have enough restaurants and bars, especially when you are growing your tourism product in a way that ensures that there is no seasonality that exists. And I will explain what I mean by that. Tobago has two distinct markets, a domestic market and an international market. And peak time for our domestic market is literally from April to October, because now that we've placed the October carnival in the latter part of October, what it has done is extended our domestic period, which would naturally have ended somewhere in September with the last long weekend, which would happen around Republic Day. And then our active winter season begins late October into November and goes until April. And during that winter season, where we are getting the bulk of our international traffic, because we have winter flights from Germany and we have two flights on BA, we are getting our UK market and our German market coming in mainly between the months of October and April. And we also have our cruise ship season taking place between the months of October and April. So when that international market naturally dips and wanes around April, because now it's hot sun time, people are going back to the spring, people are not vacationing in the Caribbean anymore, we now pave the way for our domestic peak period. And July, August is the height of that peak. You can't get tickets to come to Tobago. You can't get a boat ticket to come to Tobago. People on standby for days. Those are things that we are fully aware are happening in this space. So we have to look at what is happening in the market, and we have to tailor our products to suit what the market requires. And again, this is the opportunity for the private sector to step up and for us to collaborate in terms of what are the things that we can do in partnership to continue to welcome thousands of visitors to our shores on a monthly basis, whether they're coming from foreign destinations, whether they're coming from regional destinations, or whether they're coming from Trinidad. So I would like to see the conversation not just center around the opportunities that are available for a Tobago October Carnival, but we have to have wider conversations about what are the opportunities throughout the year and how are we exploiting those opportunities throughout the year for our benefit. The private sector is going and growing, and I think that it continues to give opportunity for us to grow our tourism products and to offer value-added services that have not been present
Right.
before. It's just for us to continue those
Right.
conversations.
And there are persons who often, you would hear them saying, well, I didn't know that there was an opportunity in this area. Are there calls for proposals that would be going out for these events to ensure that there's equal opportunity across the board for persons to get involved?
Well, that process in terms of the October Carnival was done. It was done in July. Those calls went out and people submitted proposals for their events, and that process is now closed because definitely you appreciate that we're coming to the end of the financial year. So there is an obligation on us to ensure that we get our budgets in before, so that we are fully aware of what kind of support is going out for private sector led initiatives. But there is no restriction on people sending proposals throughout the year for whatever they would like to see happen. They can send it to the division, they can send it to Festivals Commission, they can send it to TTAL, they can send it to TPAC, depending on what activity they want to do. There is no blackout period with respect to us accepting proposals and having conversations about partnerships. So it's just simply for persons to write and express their interest and for us to get an idea of what you're interested in, and then we will take it from there.
All right, excellent. And finally, as we wrap up this discussion, especially specifically on infrastructural development where tourism is concerned, we know that a lot of time, effort, energy, and resources were placed into the Manta Lodge hotel and dive center. Can you tell us where we are with that? Are we now open for bookings? Can we go spend a weekend at Manta Lodge already?
So Manta Lodge will be officially opened in September, and when that date is confirmed, when I return, obviously that would be put out, and the media would be invited to cover the official opening. We had a handing over ceremony last year in February of 2023, where the contractor Udicott handed over Manta Lodge to the Tobago House of Assembly. However, subsequent to that handing over, a lot of defects were discovered, and we had to go back in and do some remedial works. So we had to have EIDCOT, which is under the Tobago House of Assembly, go back in and do some remedial works. They were tasked with getting the facility ready to be opened. I can say that right now staff has been hired. They have been training them for the last few months. They have been going through their paces in terms of getting the hotel ready to take an influx of bookings for the winter season. We have been doing some test runs and some soft kind of activities to get the hotel in use before we officially open. So I'm just simply happy that we're at the place where the facility is now opened and ready to accept business. And for us, this is a very important step in terms of adding some quality rooms to our room stock. And 20 rooms, even though it might sound small for some people, that is plenty for us. And I think that it's just one small step that would lead to larger steps, and for us to encourage more of these boutique hotel type developments, which align with Tobago's aesthetic. So I'm simply excited for us to get to the place where we can have Manta Lodge open and accepting business.
Excellent. And even as we wrap up, is there anything that you want to tell Tobagonians, specifically when it comes to misinformation on social media that we saw going on with that Storebay redevelopment facility, and anything that we can look forward to from you?
Honest with you, I'm at this place where I really want to be able to understand that this administration has your best interests at heart. We're not in the business of trying to hide what we are doing. It's almost impossible to hide what you're doing in Tobago. When we ask people to come to consultations, we want to have honest and open conversations. If you tell us you want a waterfall, we will draw a design with a waterfall. But it's unfair to tell us you want a waterfall and then go back and say you don't want a waterfall. So for us, we know that we will get a million different opinions as to what development should look like. And yes, it is our job to sift through all of those recommendations, all of those requests, and come with a design that pleases the majority of the people who have been part of the process. And I want you to guys to just simply trust the process. Trust that we have your best interests at heart. Trust that we cannot make a move without your say so. Trust that we will come to you with the truthful information to get from you your honest feedback so that the process going forward is one where everybody is comfortable. Do not give in to the temptation to listen to people who have nothing to do with the matter being discussed. There are ways and means to get official information. We have always made information available publicly with respect to Storebay. We put up those initial renderings in the office of the facility manager, so anybody could have passed and seen it. So it's not a secret. It's not something that we are hiding. We are just going through the process, and we felt that we had to have this conversation with our internal stakeholders before we went to the public, because we did not want a situation where we went to the public and the internal person say, but nobody consulted with us and nobody brought us anything to approve before this went out to the public. So we are still talking to our internal stakeholders. We will continue to talk to our internal stakeholders. And if it takes 100 iterations to get the right design, it's better we measure twice and cut once. So I just encourage persons to participate fully in the processes. No suggestion is a bad one. No recommendation is a ridiculous one. We will take note of all the concerns. We will try to allay the fears as far as humanly possible. But definitely, please understand that we really do have to do what we have to do to help develop Tobago. And this project is just the start, and we hope that it leads to other development that certainly raises the standard of this destination that we call our home and that we love.
All right. And finally, we are nearing the end of this term in office. Do you think that this project would be completed or just started before the next THA election?
So the initial design, based on the information that the project managers indicated to us, is that the project could be done in one phase or it could be done in phases. And we did indicate to the internal stakeholders that if we wanted to do the project in one phase, an ideal timeline would be something like 9 months. And if it's being done in phases, that will stretch that timeline to 18 months. But it is not up to us to determine whether we take a one and done approach or if we spread it over different phases. At the end of the day, we will try to do what the stakeholders want, what they're comfortable with. So that is why I said we're still going through that process, so that the second design or the third design or the fourth iteration of this design may give us some latitude that the first initial rendering does not. It may give us the opportunity to phase the project in such a way that we don't have to close the facility, because the reality of the situation is that you will cross any number of peak periods with a project of this size. We have the Tobago October Carnival in October. We have cruise ship season coming up. We have February Carnival, where we get the influx of visitors who are coming, who are running away from Trinidad and then who are coming for cool down. April, we get the Easter crowd. Every long weekend, people are in Tobago. July, August is peak period. And if we keep delaying development, it means that we will never get started, because we will always say, well, we have peak period coming up. So again, we are still talking to the stakeholders. We are still tweaking the designs to see how best we can ensure that there is not too much disruption to their daily living and their daily lives and their ability to generate an income in the space. We are looking at ways at how we can even look at temporary accommodation if we have to do a one and done type arrangement. But it is only when we are finished with that process we can definitely come out and say, okay, this is how the development is going to go.
Understood, and thank you so much for bringing clarity for us this morning, and thank you for your time. Thank you so much to our audience for sticking with us this morning. Thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have been doing to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, thank you, and have a great day.